Alright everyone, it's time for a little bit of a warning about one potential misapplication of AI systems, which is that it could be used to replace jury trials. Now, you may say, well, that would be illegal. That doesn't make any sense. You have the right to a trial by jury in the United States. I'll tell you how you convince people to try to scrap that. A lot of people who are blamed for a crime are genuinely guilty. This is why a lot of them cut plea deals. Generally, there is some threshold of evidence involved. When a person has been charged, there's a better than 50-50 chance that they're guilty of at least something related to what they're being charged for. So, maybe they didn't really intend to distribute, but they did have a lot of crack because they get a serious addiction. Well, they are guilty of drug possession. I don't think that should be a crime, but currently it's on the books, etc., etc., etc. You may not have really meant to kill him, but you accidentally did, so negligent homicide or something. In such a case, let's say that they were to experimentally give the option. So you're saying you can have a trial by jury. You can also have a judge decide, although that's generally not the wisest decision in the world, unless you've bribed the judge, I suppose. You're Al Capone or something. But you've got an experimental new system. They would start it off for minor crimes, possibly civil sort of thing. So that's the sort of thing you get community service for. They're not going to start out trying this with murderers or anything. You also have the option to have this computer decide for us. It's an AI system or a series of AI systems posing as a jury, and then it figures out based on the evidence as put into the system, and both legal teams, the defense and the prosecution, would be involved with putting in the evidence, figuring out what is or is not relevant. There would be a judge presiding over this, at least at first, until AI gets good enough to be its own judge, jury, and executioner. Rig it up to a gun. It just shoots the person if they're found guilty. That's how you know what the verdict is. Yay. And then it decides whether there's enough evidence there to convict them. Now, my speculation is that you would probably end up, after a while, you'd end up with aggregated data. And sometimes there'd be a conviction, sometimes there wouldn't be. It would not be 100% accurate because no system can be. What people would be presented, therefore, then by the legacy media is, oh, the conviction rate seems a lot lower. Maybe we were over-policing to begin with. It looks like the liberals were right. Wink, wink. This is all part of how you sell it to the public. Once you realize that there's a lower conviction rate by AI than by a jury or a judge, as I speculate there probably would be, partially due to accuracy, partially due to ingrained bias, and partially due to its programming, more and more people will use AI because they don't want to be found guilty. Pretty soon you end up with potentially a political movement pushing for AI to be used in all cases, or at least to be available in all cases. And it will be preferred. People don't want to serve on juries anyway, so anyone that's in the jury pool, generally speaking, they're not going to have a problem with it. It makes it a lot quicker. It makes the process a lot less complex and a lot cheaper. And so there will be a social and political movement to try to make it mandatory in the end. This is assuming that AI is capable of advancing far enough to actually pull this off. And it will be shenanigans. Again, this is entirely speculative. I'm not openly predicting that this will happen. I'm saying this is a potential dystopian road you could go down, where you're no longer judged by human beings, you're being judged by a computer. A computer that can be hacked. A computer that can be remotely compromised. A computer that will need people around it to guard it to make sure it doesn't get tampered with. But it will. And in the end, you'll end up with scandals involved with that as well, where people are effectively put away in prison for extended periods for being political dissidents because they jaywalked too many times, but the AI says that they're guilty of grand larceny. And before you say that it's impossible for this to happen, keep in mind, no matter how much an attempt at non-bias is ingrained into that AI system, it's being programmed by human beings. At least until AI learns how to program itself, it can already spit out all sorts of code for basically anything under the sun. And it's still advancing at a rapid pace. Again, I'm not predicting this becomes our specific chosen dystopia. I'm warning that the possibility does indeed exist. You get that differential in conviction rates, and it will probably be lower because you'll have to be very cautious with the AI to make sure, hey, and it'll do what the jury doesn't do. This will be the one benefit of it, at least at first. It actually will presume innocence until a certain threshold of guilt is reached. It's more likely to do its job better than a jury or even possibly a judge who's on the lenient side. Once that happens, others will flock to it. and there will be a movement to promulgate it. If this can of worms is open, it's an inevitable end result if we begin trying to experiment with it. Right now, AI is being hatched into basically goddamn everything. AI is basically, it's beginning to look a lot like the dot-com era all over again. Will be an attendant collapse as well in usage at some point, and then the survivors will become monopolistic. This is how the business cycle works in a regulated system. Yay! And then they'll blame capitalism for it as though there's a free market. Yeah, a handful of corporations with hundreds of billions of dollars are the only ones that are developing these programs. They're making everything as proprietary as possible in a non-competitive situation while the government conceives of regulating them on a hyper level. That's just totally free market economics, my dude. Anyway, trial by AI could be a thing. And at first, it would be wise probably to choose the AI system, assuming it's been programmed properly. You're less likely to get convicted if the machine, which cannot think for itself emotionally, is saying, I have to have a certain threshold of evidence, otherwise I cannot convict this person on the crime. The jury doesn't have to do that. The jury can say, look, this is a fucking shit fuck. He deserves to go to jail. A dogpiling of charges can lean them towards finding guilt on at least a couple lesser includeds. You can't do that with AI. You're not going to instruct the AI, by the way, if there are 20 different charges against this person, you should probably just convict them on a couple of them because they're probably guilty even if the evidence isn't there. Judge may be inclined, although less likely than a jury. Jury's highly inclined towards emotional thinking. Yeah, at least at first it would be a boon for the defendants. Some innocent people would be properly treated by an AI trial. You'll also end up with mistrials in the beginning as things get messy. Well, the computer didn't do its job today. It just started singing weird music and saying weird shit about bread. We have no idea what happened. we think that somebody's kid may have tampered with it remotely. Now, we're looking into it. Don't worry. We're sorry that we convicted 5 people last week of mass murder when they were in on minor charges, but hey, the AI is always right, guys? That's about all. Peace out.